So I have no idea what took place, but nonetheless, we gonna pick up right where we left off. Now, prior to this whole little technical issue, I was talking about everybody's sentiments before our third pick, right? And so we had gotten a tackle we needed in the first round, and then we addressed trenches with the second pick. And so third pick, we're like, okay, the guys are there that we would like, etc., whatever. And so my guy Tyrone Church, good to see you, man. So yeah, doing the draft show, we all sitting there, and when we heard that, and we heard the pick, if I could take a snapshot of everybody's face, it was like, what the initial raw reaction, right? But then after we really digested it and looked at what that player could do for us, then the light bulb went off. So we doubled down on offensive line in the first three picks. And that was Cooper Beebe from Kansas State, right? So I said it was one common theme amongst our picks, and that is physicality. And I'm super excited about that. Super excited. But the other part about it, right? The other part about it that I really like is the players that we got, and you know, I know, we know, the Cowboys are very big on versatility. And so Cooper Beebe, having experience on several positions on the offensive line, you've heard the interviews, you've heard the talks, they already have a vision in mind for him. And the initial assessment is that Cooper Beebe in 2024 has the potential to be your starting center. When people talk about him, they talk about the physicality, but they also talk about the intellect. Somebody who is mentally above the game. And during that draft show with Boss Cowboy, I said something. I said, you know, him being who he is and what he's bringing to the table raw, you need somebody who is intellectual at that position. Now, y'all know we do not. I personally have a special place on the left quarter of my toilet for Eagles fans, right? But there was a clip from last year, and it was a play where Jalen Hurts was attempting to call an audible. And Jason Kelce turned around and said, no, I don't like that. And so he overrode what Jalen Hurts was trying to audible to. Do y'all get that? A center overrode his quarterback because of what he saw as far as alignment is concerned. And he felt that the play that Jalen Hurts was trying to audible to would not be beneficial to the offense at that point in time in the game. You know, a center is not just identifying, hey, 55 is Mike. He ain't just doing that. He's identifying the mic. He's looking at the alignment of the defensive line. He's looking at where the linebackers are placed. He's pretty much analyzing the front seven and helping the offensive line, quarterback, and everybody in the backfield, helping them to make the necessary adjustments so that, one, they can get the correct assignment, and most importantly, protect your franchise quarterback. Yes, I said franchise quarterback. I did. So that position is very key. It is very crucial. And I'm excited about what he brings to the table. Now, I'm excited about what everybody brings to the table because everybody has something to offer. The question is, where does what they have to offer fit into the scheme, right? So we're going to start at the top and we're going to work this thing down, y'all. I've got my notes here, and this is just a little taste of my initial reaction of what I feel every player can bring to the table. It was too much for me to remember off the top of the dome. Even though this is a quote unquote freestyle episode, your boy Amp had to write some notes down. So, excuse me, we're going to start at the top with yours truly and probably the most talked about prospect, obviously, because he's your number one. He's your first round draft pick, and that is Tyler Guyton. Now, y'all, look, as a super side note, I don't know how the Cowboys do it, right? But they have brought in yet another Tyler for the offensive line. But I'm going to tell you, that Tyler Guyton, y'all, he ain't nothing to laugh at. I mean, this dude is, y'all, he is an absolute physical specimen. The dude is 6'6", right? And 320 pounds. That's raw. That is right now. That is a big boy. Like, I saw the footage from the locker room when he was there with his dad, and that was a beautiful moment that they got to share. Grew up Cowboys fans, y'all know you know how the story goes, right? But he's there with his dad and he's standing up, and I'm like, my God, this dude is as tall as the daggum lockers. I mean, just huge frame. And then you look at his tape, you see his movement. I'm like, oh. I already started drooling, y'all. I'm like, this dude, like, when they say big body caddy, that's him. He's that guy. And so he really, and we needed it, especially after losing Tyron Smith. Now, I personally hate to see Tyron Smith leave us. I mean, 77 has been solid for us for so many years, right? Now, obviously, y'all know injuries has plagued him towards the second part of his career, right? And I felt they did the. Now, look, we ain't always gonna bash the Jones family. When they do something right, we gotta give credit where credit is due. Now, as far as how they managed his workload last year and had him available to play the majority of the season, kudos to them. You know, they figured something out. Hey, guess what? This dude is a future Hall of Famer, future gold jacket wearer. We know what he can bring Sunday in and Sunday out. So we don't need to see a lot of him in practice. Matter of fact, guess what? We don't need to see you in practice. And guess what? It paid dividends because majority of the season he was available. I think that's also part of the reason why they didn't bring him back. Because they could have duplicated another incentive-laden contract. They could have done that. But once you figured out how to manage him, if you had duplicated that again this year and he was available, guess what? You would have had to pay him. So guess what? Even with the first round draft pick, you're going to be paying Tyler Guyton a fraction of what you would be paying Tyron Smith had he hit those incentives. So kudos to them for being able to be bold to be able to stand out on what they believe, to be able to stand on the draft process, to be able to stand on the scouting process. Have a guy in mind that you want, and then when he's available, you have the cojones, if you will, to bring that guy on. Now, the other thing that I will applaud the Cowboys about is over the course of the years, the Cowboys have been extremely successful in selecting offensive talent, offensive line talent. I mean, just look at your starting right tackle. Undrafted free agent. And really, had it not been for the injury he sustained, I think you would have saw a higher level of production from Terrence Steele than we had seen in the previous couple of years. But it was obvious that, the injury was bothering him. He was not fully recovered. But I am excited that he has had an off season, a full off season, another off season to recover, to rehab, and to strengthen that base. Because guess what? Prior to that injury, right prior to that injury, that guy there was arguably your best offensive lineman. So I am going to bet, I'm not a betting man, but I'm going to bet that you will see Terrence Steele return to the level of production that we did prior to last year. So you've got a solid right tackle. You've got a future Hall of Fame right guard. You've got a stud, and I ain't even going to put a position on him just because he's so flexible. A stud left sideman. That's what I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him a left sideman. I ain't calling him a guard. I ain't calling him a tackle. Because even prior to this draft, I was saying it could have went either way. The only reason I predicted him staying at left guard was because of the fact that on your offensive line, he is the next one due a big contract. And considering that the cheaper option for the Joneses was to keep him at guard so that you do not have to pay him left tackle money, you can bring in a rookie, train him up in the way that you want him, and now you have a super strong left side and you have a very strong interior. Now, the middle of that interior has a question mark on it because we lost our starting center, but with the Guyton, with Tyler, your new center, your Hall of Fame right guard, and your super solid right tackle, I think if we can develop them and cultivate them, especially the young guys I'm talking about, if we can cultivate them the way that Dallas has done their offensive linemen over the several years, this line has the potential to rival the offensive line you had back in 2014, 15, 16, maybe even 17. And we know that line was amazing because even a player that Dallas Cowboys fans wanted to call washed up at the time, in Darren McFadden, was able to be 1,000-yard rusher behind a super solid line. Matter of fact, I said, I made jokes with people. I said that year, I believe my grandma could have ran behind her. Shout out to her and happy Mother's Day again to all the mothers. I believe my grandmother could have ran behind that line that year and got 1,000 yards. Now, Green Bay obviously left a bad taste in their mouth, right? Last couple years, San Fran has left a bad taste in our mouth. And even over the course of last season, for all argument purposes, you could say that there are a couple of teams that left a bad taste in our mouth. And why did they leave a bad taste in our mouths? It wasn't because they won the game. It was the fashion in which they did it. When you look at Arizona, when you look at Buffalo, when you look at almost how Detroit did us, and then you look at what Green Bay did to us, and you look at what San Fran did to us the last couple of years, it wasn't finesse, y'all. They out-physicaled us. And so what you saw from ownership, management, the scouting department, and the coaching staff, what you saw from them on this year was an absolute commitment to be a more physical team. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I got to give it to them. Now, in my honest opinion, right, as good as this guy is, as good as Guyton is, with his size, with his physicality, and with his athleticism, one of the issues I see with him he ain't quite got his fight on. Hand placement. Now, I don't see it as a problem. I just see it as an area for needs improvement. He has great fundamental skills. He has a great base. Honestly, he could end up being the second coming of Tyron Smith. But he's going to have to work on the hands. He's a strong guy, but you look at him, he's got that baby face. I know he's got some dog in him, but he's still an unproven talent. But that guy there, man, and people say, oh, he's a right tackle. He played left tackle, y'all. But he took on the task of doing something new. To me, what I see in him, I see a lot of what I've seen in Tyler Smith. I saw an individual who is unselfish. Because we heard it last year. When media kept poking and prodding at Tyler Smith. Even this year, hey, where you going to play? What you want to play? Do you have any preferences, etc., whatever? Tyler Smith looked y'all dead in y'all face. He looked straight into the camera and he said, I'm going to do whatever the team needs me to do. Super unselfish. And from Tyler Guyton, from the reports of what took place for the Oklahoma Sooners, there was a vacancy at right tackle. And so because of his strengths, because of the type of player that he is, he said, you know what? Because their quarterback was left-handed. He said, I'll protect the blind side. Y'all, it's the little stuff with me, you know? Just like a relationship. Yeah, the big stuff is cool, but it's the little things that get Amp's attention. It's the things that, like that, is what I want to amplify. I don't think stuff like that gets enough attention. You vacated a place that you were comfortable with for the betterment of the team. As far as I'm concerned, you're the real MVP. Now, for S and giggles, right? God forbid, knock on wood, something were to happen with Terrence Steele. The flexibility is there. Because now you have the potential to swing him out to right, slide Tyler Smith to left tackle, or bring Truman or whomever. You could potentially slide Tyler over, bring in your boy TJ, and still be good. The flexibility, y'all, that's one of the biggest strengths to me on paper for this draft class. Moving on to the next. So we're at day 2. Come around to our first pick in day 2. And again, this was another one of those situations where we had ideas who we thought the Cowboys might draft. And we were all kind of shocked with this. But at the time of the pick, I made a statement. And I said, The biggest thing that I saw, common theme here, physicality, flexibility. So I don't know if anyone has said this yet, but to me, this pick was more about Micah than I think most people realize. Because after doing some research, I saw that this guy is a super edge setter. He's been great in the run game, right? Now, I also said this. I did a video. Y'all go check it out. It was warning to Cowboys Nation prior to the draft, right? Now, obviously, we did change defensive coordinators, right? And so you have Mike Zimmer on the squad now. We saw what Quinn has done with Micah Parsons. And then towards the end of the year, we saw Micah playing a lot, and I mean a heavy dose of defensive end. Now, I said this, and I said, Zimmer has his type. Just like we all got our favorites, You got your favorite woman, you got your favorite man, you got your favorite type of TV show. We all got our favorites, right? Mike Zimmer has favorites as far as what he likes out of a certain position group. And when it comes to defensive line, especially defensive ends, Mike Zimmer likes a big boy. But he also likes discipline. Now, one of the things that absolutely drove me up the wall on last year, y'all, is seeing my defense, who I thought had the caliber to be a championship grade defense, on the most simple plays last year. Unfortunately, I saw my end